We are back.
We're back.
Very long, what is that, hiatus? Is that what that? Very long break that we took, and we are kicking off our first episode of I believe it to be season 3.
Could be season 4.
Could be
We're gonna
season
double
4.
check on
We'll
that.
double check. I think it's season 3. But we're back. So to all the haters, all the people who've been shitting on our podcast. I actually kind of want to talk about that for a second because I find it's like so amazing to me. I'm like a firm believer of like building people up. Firm believer. Like if someone's doing something that I think is just like a cool thing or a great thing or something that they're happy about doing, even it doesn't have to like go anywhere like, crazy, but like even if they're happy about doing it, then I'm like, man, that's fucking awesome, like great, like so be it, like cool.
You would think, yeah.
But like I find that there are people ever since we've done this podcast that for some reason have like little passive aggressive negative things to say about it, like, oh yeah, well, talk about it on your podcast. And it's like, what is, first of all, one, I don't even really don't know what you're trying to accomplish by saying that. Two, are you really angry? Like, I'm confused. Are you really bothered by the fact that like someone has a podcast? Do you want to have a podcast? I don't know. But it's like I don't really understand what the little digs are for. And then in my mind, I also think to myself, you would think that people who, I don't know, claim to be people who are friendly towards you or nice towards you or whatever, like you would think that they would actually be like, that's awesome, man. Daps, good job, like do what you got to do. But no, people just hate so much. I just don't get it. I really don't.
It's the yin and yang of the world, there has to be them to be us.
It's just so amazing to me. It really is. Like, first of all, who cares? Why does anyone care so much about somebody else's life that they feel the need to like even throw little like sarcastic, passive aggressive comments? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, you have to get into each.
I do understand.
Head.
I'm
Yeah,
actually saying this as though I'm actually really like I'm dumb, like I don't understand, but I actually do. I'm just not trying to go that deep.
Yeah, you'd have to literally get into each
considering this is what I do for a living, so it's like I could pick this apart easily.
Yeah. I mean, but in general, it's because maybe they're not fulfilling their life.
They're just not happy, I guess, right? I guess people who aren't really truly maybe like living their own truth or just happy in their own self, I guess focus on other people's lives and feel the need to have to jab at somebody else and try and bring someone down when it's like, okay, I mean, I guess if that's what really makes you feel good, then so be
I don't even think it actually makes them feel good.
No, I know that shouldn't be sarcastic. But if that for some reason, if I was speaking to somebody about this and they were like, you know what, bringing other people down and saying passive aggressive shitty comments to people really makes me feel good, I would say, so be it then. If
well, at least they're honest about it.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what makes you feel good, then
most people would never be honest about that.
High five, like do what you feel you need to do, But anywho,
yeah.
Outside of that, we are back.
Yeah, it's been, a long, short summer. I don't even really know. It's been crazy weather, and we've been doing things, I guess. And just we got Wela back, which is part of the reason why we're able to do this again.
Right. For those of you who don't know, who haven't been listening, if you're just starting, Joe and I, husband and wife team, do a podcast, have a kid. Had a dog. For those of you who also know, if you've listened to our past episodes, you know that Euro, our dog, was a really big part of our life. He would come downstairs. You guys would hear him. We'd yell at him. It'd be a whole thing. He has now passed, which was extremely devastating.
I think have we had a podcast since?
I don't know because I couldn't talk about it, so I don't. I have.
No, we have.
I have no idea. But
just...
so he's gone, but we now have help. We have my mother here who's moved in, and so now we're able to actually kind of like do these things, which, to be honest, we've just been so busy, like between work and being parents, it's just been a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
And then it's just going to get more because we are doing something together now, something new.
Yes.
You
So we
want to
have
make
a
that
big,
like announcement, or
yeah,
it's like kind of like
for
a
sure.
pre-announcement on here?
Yeah. So in our past seasons, we've talked a lot about like psychedelic assisted therapy, and and I've talked about my trainings with it. I did a Harvard training with it and some other trainings. And in September, I'm going to Arizona, and I'm getting my actual training and certification in psychedelic assisted therapy by use of ketamine for right now. I can't use psilocybin until psilocybin's actually approved by the FDA, and it has not been approved yet out here for clinical purposes.
Well, it depends on the state. I mean,
out here,
it can be done.
It's not here yet. Actually, it's also not for clinical purposes in Colorado. It's recreational for Colorado.
But they're still doing.
It's not clinical, because when I tried to look at trainings for Colorado, all their trainings say we'll be doing another psilocybin training once it's all. Yeah, no. The FDA, who runs the Food Drug Administration, has not signed off on the use of psilocybin for clinical.
But how does
purposes.
that work down there if it's recreational? So anybody can go get it and then go to their therapist.
But legally, the therapist is not allowed to do it. And if something happens, God forbid, then that's on their license. Yeah, I mean, it's not approved clinically. It's approved recreationally by states.
Interesting.
But not for.
But ketamine is federally approved.
Ketamine's approved. It's been ketamine was never taken away. It's used in the hospitals, everything.
Which I was unaware that prior to you going into this, that ketamine at high doses actually can put you in a psychedelic state.
Yep.
Which is very similar to psilocybin and some other drugs. But
I mean, it's a different feel. But yeah. So I'll be doing that training in September. For 4 days. I'm also getting dosed myself. I'll be getting 2 doses, which I'm like so excited about. I'm not sure if anyone's ever done ketamine. I've accidentally done it because
most people have probably done it like someone recreational back in the day.
Someone told me it was MDMA, so I mentally went into it. I know. Well, that was the whole thing. I was like in this time where I was like, man, I love MDMA, blah blah, right? And like I was like partying, having fun, and then I was like at a friend's house, mentally went into it thinking it was MDMA. So I was like, okay. And then literally I was like, this is not MDMA, because usually I'm like feeling really good. It went from I felt like I was on a boat, but like I was dizzy. Everything was wobbly and moving like it was waves. And I got nauseous. Then I threw up. Right. And then after all of that, I ended up in what we call a K-hole, I guess, and was paralyzed basically from the neck down. I could not move and was just laying on a bed. I mean, it felt good. I will say at that point, it was actually a great feel.
You're really
I did
selling
not
this ketamine thing.
I know this is also this is like an accidental recreational situation.
The dosage
so
was off. Dosage you don't know what was in there.
I have no idea what it was cut with. It's awful. I don't recommend that. But now today, I'm able to do it on a clinical level, and I'm super excited about it because at the right dosing with a clinician there, with a team who's there to really kind of guide you through it, is going to be a whole other experience. So I'm stoked about that. So when we come back, or when I get back from that, Joe is also actually going to be doing his certification in spiritual life coaching, which is really exciting because he and I are now going to be teaming together, and I'm going to be moving my practice and getting a bigger space. And we are going to be adding the psychedelic assisted therapy piece into my practice, as well as numerology services along with talk therapy, because I've been doing that a little bit now by really only Joe, because I don't know how to do numerology. And then we're also going to be using the Healy. I'm not sure if you have it.
I don't have it on
which
me,
we've talked about before, which is like an energy frequency device. And that's like a whole other conversation. But anyway, I've been implementing that in some of my therapy sessions with my patients. And that's been really amazing. So I think my goal is to really start stepping out of the talk therapy world, to be honest. I think talk therapy is amazing. I think it's wonderful. But I've been doing this since 2006. And as a clinician, I just realistically know that talk therapy takes years upon years upon years upon years.
For certain people, but like also even for like the person where it's like top level, it still takes
It takes
time.
a really it takes a really long time. And again, like that's cool, that's fine. Um, but for me, I think at where I'm at in this stage, I feel like I want to be able to help people in the best way possible and not continue to have their shit linger.
Yeah.
I want to actually really help you. And unfortunately, we live in a world where insurance runs it. And a lot of these therapeutic techniques that we have, like hypnosis, EMDR, psychedelic assisted therapy, insurance does not pay for. Insurance will pay for EMDR for an hour, but that's only because their thing is that they only will pay for an hour a week. So that's just based on how I bill. I then just bill 1 hour of that, and then another hour you have to come out of pocket because it's 2 hour service. So at least your insurance covers 1 hour. Hypnosis services usually aren't really covered by insurance. But psychedelic assisted therapy is definitely not covered through insurance.
It's basically anything that can
Anything
actually
that's
help
really
you, and you're
amazing
never
that
going to need it
right,
ever again.
anything
The insurance
that's
company's like,
like
no, 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 no,
really,
no.
really, really amazing that has a faster time frame of outcome. Insurance, unfortunately, isn't really
It doesn't have
with it,
anything to do with pills,
which is kind of
so
annoying.
then, yeah, you're just like, no.
So yeah, so I'm super excited about this. This has been kind of like our focus and what we've been kind of doing and trying to come together with. And so that'll be that'll be coming together in like October. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, this is still preliminary times right now. It's still early, but that's the direction we're heading in for sure. By the end of the year, towards the beginning of next year, we're going to be moving along with this for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because it's like, I have a good foundation already, so luckily we're not like starting from scratch,
Mhm.
which is nice. And I like the patients that I already have now. Man, I just like love everyone who I work with. I always love everyone who I work with. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just gravitate towards like, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like clinicians gravitate towards certain types of people.
Well, I
I don't
mean,
know. It's laws of attraction,
yes,
know,
the
right? Like
universe is
the universe.
bringing them to you because
Yeah.
they know that you're going to fit right with them.
Yeah,
and it's gonna work
literally.
out.
So it's great. People are super pumped about it, and I'm like just as pumped. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great.
Mhm.
So what do you want to get into today?
Well, today we really wanted to get into, I think one of the things that I think a big reason also why we haven't been as consistent with these podcasts is because not only has just stuff been going on with work and, stuff like that, but life has been going on. And by life, I mean just like I think I've been dealing with a lot of my own like just stage of life, walking into a new stage of life as a 41-year-old woman who's going through lots of different hormonal changes and entering even a new stage of parenting. And I've been going through my own stuff, and so I think that's also been something that that has really kind of prevented us from really being able to do these because I just haven't been with it. I've been like dealing with just like my own shit. And so last night, I don't know if anyone, so I've talked about having postpartum, right? After I had my daughter, I had postpartum, which was not, I guess if I'm on an intense level, not as intense as postpartum could possibly get. But I definitely suffered with depression pretty bad and pretty bad OCD. And that lasted intensely for like up to like a year and change, we'll say. And then now my daughter is 3.5. And it just so happened that when I moved to Rhode Island, right, everything shifted. I felt like my whole life got kind of flipped upside down. I have not really been happy living in Rhode Island. I've been pretty vocal about that, about just not liking it here. But then like all these things have been happening, like Rhode Island, and then like the weather change, and then my dog died, and then like all these things
And then
that
our
have
daughter's going through constant
right, our daughter
transitions
is
at
like
this
in a
age,
transition too
like
at
every
this
like 3 months.
age. Yeah, and it's like a whole new ball game now. Like at one point I was like, oh my God, my daughter's so amazing all the time, every day. I want to be around her all the time. And now I'm like, I mean, yeah, I love her and shit, but like, I don't really want to be a fucking around her all the time. Like, she's like, it's like insane right now. It really is. It's like emotional fucking torture.
Yeah, it's been tough.
It's like wild. And so,
Just like really, like the past couple of weeks has just been.
it's just been a
She's
build
just
up. It really has.
been pushing.
It's been a build
But
up.
yeah, we were talking last night about like all these layers and all the
Well-
different things, and they've been adding up, and like we're like, I mean, we're clearly not the only parents or like just people in general that go through these types of things. Like,
Right.
pretty much everybody, even people that without kids, are going through these things, but
Life changes.
yeah, they may not be fully aware of all the like the nuances of every transition and like the details, and how it's affecting them stress wise, what they're thinking about, overwhelmingness of
Mood,
it.
depression,
Yeah,
just
they're
all
just
of
your
those
mood
things,
in
all of
general,
those things.
like on a daily basis. And it's like having a kid is like the cherry on top, or like the freaking the last brick that's gonna crumble your house. You know what I'm saying? It's like you choose to do it, but I think people just go into it frivolously because it's a cultural thing. Have kids. Everybody has. Johnny has kids.
Right.
Your brother has kids.
That's
your
what you
uncle
do.
has kids.
You find
just,
someone, you
know,
get married,
Yeah.
you fall in love, you have a kid, you have a family. And it's, I think what I wrote down last night was like, society has normalized all of the shit that you go through with raising a child. So therefore, it's not really talked about, I feel like, as much as it really should be.
It just ends at like, well, that's what you get for having.
And it's
That's
like, well,
what it
you're
is,
a parent,
like having a 3-year-old.
that's
You know,
just that. And it's like, no, I get that. But again, I think society has just made it a normal thing. So it's just a part of life. That's it. You have a kid, you go through all this craziness, and that's just it. But I think that's been a part of the issue. As I think a part of the issue has been the whole "that's just it" normalizing mentality has prevented
nobody talks
people
about it.
from really actually talking about it on an intense level. And wrapping around, because last night I did some digging about postpartum. And for those of you who don't know, for women who don't know, please fucking know this, because I did not. Apparently, postpartum can come back. It's called postpartum reoccurrence, postpartum relapse. And I didn't even know that until last night, because I've been dealing with just some like really familiar feelings from when I had my daughter. And they're not as intense, but I'm like, the only time that I remember feeling like this is after I had my daughter. And so I did some thinking in the shower. I was like, interesting. I wonder if postpartum could like come back like out of nowhere. Bada bing, bada boom. I start researching it and digging, and I read these blogs from these moms who are a part of these like postpartum groups and all that stuff, who work with doctors, and they're like, yes, it can come back 3 years after, 4 years after, 5 years after, and it could be things in your life that can actually set it off. And so when I look at my life, I'm like, well, that makes total sense. My dog died. That was a huge setback for me, you know. Living here in Rhode Island, huge setback for me. And all these things, my daughter moving into a new stage, huge thing. And then now here I am, and I'm like, just like blah, right? So I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, after speaking about this and finding this out, then that's what took us to this whole conversation of like, people need to be talking about the reality and the severe challenges of parenting on a daily basis.
Yeah,
they really do.
It's like processing all those things. Like I think even you have let these things kind of like pile up. Like you kind of process them a little bit, and then you keep it moving, because that's kind of what
everyone does.
But it's also to be devil's advocate. Like it's kind of you kind of have to. Like you kind of have to.
What are you gonna do? You're not gonna stay in the you gotta go.
You know, but there are ways, such as therapy or whatever, and just like taking time for yourself to process it, even if it's like an hour a week. At least it's like something where you're like talking to somebody about whatever your shit is, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I think therapy is on the rise as well, the talk therapy. And
the
why
talk therapy or the psychedelic?
Well,
therapy?
just
what are we talking about?
I mean, I think talk therapy actually.
Talk therapy will always be on the rise, just
Yeah,
because one, it's convenient, insurance pays for it, so that's
but
always
even
going to be
more
the
so
case.
now because like, I mean, you've told me that, like more men are going to therapy and stuff like that. It's
Oh, well,
culturally, I
society,
think,
it's definitely changing. Yeah,
yeah.
more men. There's more diversity. Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, I think the real reason behind it is not because, men are just deciding to go more. It's just because it's like gotten to a breaking point where it's like people are like, they can't function properly because they haven't
Right,
processed
they're like,
through
something's got
each
to give.
one of these little things, right?
Mhm.
This is why it's good to constantly have conversations, even if you're just talking about it or venting or whatever it is, because if you don't properly process it, like, it just sits there. And then there's always going to be more things, especially if you have a kid and you're married and you have a career and you're like got like future goals and
Mm-mm.
whatever the fuck it is,
So
which
much.
is pretty much everybody, right? So like they're just going to layer up unless you do something about it, and they're going to come out in a variety of different ways that you probably see all day long, with different people, but it's all the same shit. It's all coming from the same place of like suppressing
Well, it's
stress.
it's compartmentalizing. As I'm sitting here listening to you, I think also not only has society normalized, just like, okay, find someone, fall in love, get married, have a kid, and then just deal with being a parent and all the shit that comes with it. I think what happens along with the normalizing it has come this level of like survival that again we have to have, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think in these really challenging moments, that survival piece has to kick in, because you're like, okay, I have two options here. I can either fucking dip out, or I just have to stay here and deal with it. And for the most part, people stay and deal with it. But what happens though is that I don't think people stay and deal with it. People just stay in it. They go into autopilot mode, then they compartmentalize, and then you just move forward, but you're not really moving forward because you're compartmentalizing and all that stuff is building. So it's like, even like now, like when I talk to people about the shit about being a parent, usually when I talk to like some moms, I'm not going to say all moms, but like some moms, we can get into it. Like we are in it. Like I'm talking about every fucking little moment that I literally want to just scream my head off, because it's like the most exhausting thing possible. But then there are some moms and some people who I run into who like don't go that deep. And the people who also don't go that deep are men. I've spoken to many dads about stuff like this, and they're very surface with it. It's very just like, and I don't know whether it's because the dads have a different experience than the moms do, which I think that could be a piece of it. I think moms do get the grunt of the shit, but I think on the other side of it is, again, I think traditionally men just are also kind of stereotypically built to just.
But that doesn't mean that they don't have anything to talk about or don't have.
I'm not saying that they don't. They're
just
compartmentalizing
pushing
and
it down.
stuffing and pushing
Right.
everything down. And then it's like, okay. And then people wonder why years later they're like, marriage is fucking, not thriving, like shit, everything's falling apart. And it's like, well, that's.
Yeah, because like you said before, something has to give, and it's usually the relationship. I think I would assume, because you guys are like, parents are just this, like, we're in this together. We're doing all this shit together, but we're not really connecting, and that's the part that gets lost. And what was I gonna say before that at the end of the day? Oh yeah, so people are dealing with all this stuff, and at the end of the day, when they actually do have a moment, some time, people have time no matter what. That's what I'm going to say. People always have time, right?
We always have time.
But instead of doing the processing, what people do is watch TV, or they go on their Instagram, or their whatever it is that's going to like take their mind off of like how overwhelming all this shit has become.
Which to some degree, Joe, on some level is okay.
No, I do.
And
no,
I do
listen,
think it's necessary.
It is. It's okay, I believe, and this is my only personal opinion, is when like you have some sort of structure or process to processing these other things that may take some time, whether it's like you go to therapy once a week, or you meditate every night, or whatever, something, and then fucking watch all the TV you want at like 10 o'clock at night or whatever. But like, I've said this before on the other podcast about like time, of like people always say, oh, we don't have enough time, and there's always time. Just like it's an excuse for us, like we don't do this podcast. Yeah, we've been busy, but we could have had time.
I mean, we
but
could have
there's
easily
like
made time, but when you asked me, I would say no.
But I'll say with the podcast, it's like the quality of the podcast that we want to put out, it wouldn't have been the same. Not like visual quality, but just the content quality, because of like the time of the day or whatever.
Just the energy and motivation level.
Exactly.
Just like, yeah.
Like right now, it's a Saturday afternoon. We're feeling good. We, had a nice rest last night. We know that somebody's watching the kids.
We have help.
We're good we're feeling good, but we don't want to do it at like 10 o'clock at night,
gross.
when Aaliyah's going to fall asleep in like 15 minutes anyways. But,
it's not gonna happen. Yep.
But anyways, what I'm saying is like, I think it's for sure. Yeah. Watch a fucking movie, like chill out, detach here and there. But like when people are doing this on a consistent basis and they're not taking care of or processing through the things that need to be done to have a happy, healthy life, then they're doing a disservice to themselves, I think. But they don't even know it. Most people don't even know that they're doing a disservice to themselves.
Yeah. I also think, again, society's really fucking done a number on all of us, to be honest. Society also has installed these like belief systems and these thought processes of like, for example, I have no problem, and I'm sure that there's people in the world who also have no problem saying this, but I have no problem saying that my kid could be a complete fucking dick. I have no problem saying.
I'm sure they all.
I have no problem saying. Yeah, I have no problem saying I really sometimes don't want to be around her. No problem saying that, because you have a fucking 3-year-old, and then you tell me how much you want to be around your 3.5, almost 4-year-old all the fucking time. Okay. But so I have no problem saying that. I think though that what happens though is that society has also played a part in installing like guilt and shame and all of these things, because again, you're supposed to love your kid. And again, thinking my kid's a dick has nothing to do with the fact that I don't love them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be a dick and I can still love you, obviously, right? But society, I think, has really kind of connected those two things almost. Like, for example, I had a patient one time, this is a long time ago. I had a patient one time sit in my office, and I had session after session after session with him for so long. And one day in session, he looked at me and we're talking. He was so quiet, and it was like such a serious moment. And he was like, I forgot what was leading up to it, but basically he said, I don't like love my parents. And I mean, I thought that was a pretty, so obviously I like went into it more, blah, 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 stuff like that. Now, again, there was some stuff there. He was adopted, like when, he's adopted when he was a baby, blah, blah, blah. But so he sat there and he's like, I don't feel like love for them. And he was so conflicted by that and felt so bad saying that out loud. You can see in his face the fucking like guilt and shame that he felt even saying that, and the torment of saying it out loud. That he should just like, because society says, right, you should love, and if your parent,
you're a bad
and if you
person.
don't, there's something wrong with you, and you're this and you're that, right, and you're all these things and da 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 da, and my response to him was, that's okay. I mean, like, that's okay. Like, let's tell me more, I want to know
reason why you feel that.
I want to know more, and so, yeah, like, that's kind of what I mean though. But, and in that situation, there was really, I mean, there was stuff going on, but on a different level, but the connection he felt wasn't there. And again, it was just sitting with the shame and the guilt and the torment he felt because of saying it out loud and having that feeling. And I'm like, that's another thing too, is that like, we need to stop like making things into this like big thing. If someone says like, hey, I don't like my parents, or hey, I don't like my kid right now, or hey, it's like, okay, like, I get it. What, I have felt that too.
But what happens in those moments though sometimes is, depending obviously on who you bring that up to, the other person sees that as, oh shit, this is like a deep conversation that they don't want to get into it. They're just like, oh yeah, right, fuck that shit, fuck
we're like,
fuck your
whatever,
mom or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
my mom
well,
sucks too. And then that just shuts it down, right?
yeah.
And yeah, I think
Whereas my response automatically to those things, or like even in my regular life of not being a therapist, is like, nothing wrong with that, and let's get into it. Because I mean, I completely understand if you want to get into it, we can get into this. But in my mind, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's okay. Like, there's something going on.
There's always
fine.
Yeah, it's just you have to think about, like, you don't know, you're not in that person's shoes. Like they're having a statement about something, they're expressing themselves in that way to you, and you have to, I don't know if sometimes maybe they're looking for like comfort and wanting you to like agree with them, or if they actually do want to get into it.
My thing is this, though. I don't even think, I think the majority of people wouldn't say the truth about something like that out loud, because again, society has already pushed that this is not okay.
Right, you hear it because it's like a safe
they're
zone.
coming to me, and with that particular patient, it took a long time for him to get to that point where he felt that he could say that, and he wasn't going to be judged. Poor thing, you know, like. But I mean, like, yeah, I don't think people are really saying those things out loud on a daily basis unless they say it jokingly. Because again, society, from the fucking Leave It to Beaver times, right? When you're watching Leave It to Beaver and everything's like, come on, and everything, you know, mom, dad, yeah, I love everybody, be, you know, and it's like, but shit, it's not always fucking like that. Like, and it's okay if it's not like that. Let's like,
yeah, they you know, shifting gears a little bit, but it's still on the topic, is like, if you think about like censorship, right? There's a lot of censorship going on in social media and stuff like that. Social media is communication, right? And we're way deep into self-censorship already. We've like generations of self-censorship,
been doing,
you know,
since
like,
Leave It to Beaver times,
literally since right before that shit, you know.
Right.
And it's not healthy for everybody, you know. It's definitely not helping our culture grow and understand each other. It's basically just shutting shit down. And if everybody thinks that that's normal to shut shit down, okay, let's just not talk about that and then move on. But it's still there. It's still there in each individual, and it's never going to go away until that person is able to do what that person did with you in therapy, right? So I guess like psychedelics and stuff can bring all that stuff to the surface and you deal with it, right? That's basically what it's doing, right?
And then you got to walk through that shit, which is scary.
And then, so there's obviously, we're developing a process to go through all that. It's going to probably take months, even maybe for some people, right? After the processing afterwards, right? The
the integration.
The integration, yeah.
I mean, it depends.
Depends on the person.
Depends on the person, yeah.
But yeah, it could be anywhere from.
It could be like, literally one session to maybe you need more. We have no idea.
Right. But yeah, that's essentially what it's doing, is bringing everything to the surface. It's all the same shit we're talking about. It's like, you can either talk about it, you can go meditate about it. This is all it is just energy.
Which in my perspective is one of the main reasons why it is that insurance companies will not pay for stuff like this. Because if it's so effective for many people, I'm not saying all, but for many people, that means that people will actually start to no longer need pharmaceutical medication. And well, my God, the world can't have that.
They'll also be more self-aware and realizing,
God forbid, the majority of the population is actually self-aware and like healthier and not on meds.
Yeah, you know? I think it'd be a different world.
Jesus.
So anyways, we're trying to do our part to get people to that point, so that way we can start shifting culture in that direction. And you know, just the beginning. And you know, we're gonna do our little part. That's all I care about, really. Is the life that I live. Like when we're 80 years old and our daughter is however old she's gonna be, you know, I just want her to just know that my parents at least attempted to shift the direction of where culture is going.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be doing therapy until the day I die, most likely. Considering I work for myself and don't have a 401k or any pension or anything, but I'll be doing it till the day that I fucking die.
But you do it because you love it. You love helping people.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, it's the only thing I know how to do, and that I feel like I feel like I'm good at. I don't really think I'm good at anything else, like career wise, like I'm like I don't know how to do anything else. Like other people had like other careers maybe or other jobs growing up. I didn't. I literally I worked at Charades. I don't know if anyone remembers that. That was a store back in the day. For like a summer, like, and then I worked at
what age? Like 15 or something?
No, I never worked at that yet.
How is it? There's the doctor.
God no. No, when I was like 18, like for like a summer, and then I worked at Cutco and I sold knives. For a little bit, and then I worked for the American Lung Association
as you were smoking.
As I was smoking cigarettes. And drove a lung mobile.
So you had a couple of it.
And that was it.
Not careers though.
Not yeah, and that was it. I only had those 3 gigs, like, but I've never had like any other experience with anything. They never were like long-term things that I was like, because when I was working for the American Lung Association, I was also in school working towards being a therapist. So it was like I don't know how to do anything else. This is all I really know. This is it. Yeah. But I definitely know at this point in my life, do you know how much it kills me to work with all the people that I work with, to be able to do things that I know could help them a hell of a lot faster, probably going to be way more intense, but a hell of a lot faster. And the one thing that holds me back from being able to do that, unfortunately, is that insurance won't pay for it and someone can't afford it.
Right.
It fucking kills me. It kills me. This is why for so long I was fucking not making the money that I really could have been making, because I was taking people either pro bono here and there, or I was just really kind of like downplaying my prices just so I can get someone in. And I would only really do that. Obviously I couldn't do that for everybody, but I would do it if I had someone who I'm like, yo, this talk therapy shit is not the fucking thing. It is not going to fucking do anything for you. We need to fucking do something else, because I refuse to continue to see you sit here in fucking misery day after day. Fuck that, like, and I had to unfortunately pick and choose who I would do that with, like, because again, I own my own business, but it's not fun. So now I'm just kind of like, I just am excited to be able to help people live their fucking truth and be honest with themselves, see the truth surface, deal with it, cope with it, guide you to that point, let you know that everything's gonna fucking be okay, because it will, and just like help you get to a better place, man. Because it's like,
yeah, this is the difference between like having a guided psychedelic trip,
experience,
right, with a therapist, and just doing it recreationally. Because when you're doing it recreationally, you might have all these experiences and feel all this stuff bubbling to the top and whatever, but you don't know what to do with it then. Like, it's even that can be crazily overwhelming, and maybe that becomes like a bad trip. But
and then you want to run.
But maybe you just need somebody to walk you through it and help explain to you, like, connect the dots,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that in a psychedelic journey, it's from what I was told in just the trainings that I've been to, that it's actually okay and sometimes good for it to be a quote unquote bad trip.
Right.
Because sometimes you need to go there in order to get to the other side of it. And so again, what I think a lot of people do on a recreational level is, and I know this has happened to me, a bad trip happens, you don't want to go there. It's fucking scary, especially when you're in that state. Like, it's fucking scary. And so you're like, and then you either just kind of like do something else, or you freak out or whatever, and it's just this awful experience, versus having someone there guide you and kind of really like let you know, like, it's gonna be okay. I'm here. Walk through it. What are you seeing? What's good? And really kind of help you there, because at least oh my God, thank God I'm not in this by myself. Like, I have someone here with me to help me.
Recreationally, what's always saved me in those moments, because I've had a couple of those moments back in the day, is I just keep saying to myself, this is not real. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to
So-
die from shrooms, right? That's what I constantly keep saying in my head as I'm going through this, like,
But then
freaking
again,
torturous
especially
thing.
if it's your first experience and you're doing it recreationally, you don't know if that's even true or not.
Yeah, you don't
Actually,
know.
like you
Yeah.
don't know. You're like, fuck, I'm gonna fucking die. You know, like.
But that is the truth, because nobody's ever died from shrooms. And what happens if you do go to the hospital, because I know this from experience as well, not me personally, but other people, is that they just basically pump your stomach and you sit there for 24 hours until it wears off. That's it.
So it's a waste of a hospital.
They put an IV in you, and you're just tripping your balls in a fucking hospital and probably feeling worse.
Yeah. Oh God.
might
Imagine tripping in a hospital.
Yeah. The best bet for like a bad trip is to like change your environment wherever the hell you are, who you're with, the energy that you're around, you know. And
don't trip with shitty people. What I mean by that is just
Like,
like, AKA just people who maybe aren't like positive, maybe like just like pessimistic people, negative people who just maybe kind of aren't living like healthier lives. Like it's all about environment. I mean, I can't tell you how many times they said in this training, set and setting, set, setting your environment, which is why when people do psychedelic assisted therapy, you go into an office and there's music. It's like the lighting is there, the comfort is there. It's a whole like environmental piece of it.
All about the energy. So yeah, also once again, not suggesting anybody go do shrooms recreationally, but
I mean, you can if you want
you
to.
can do what you want.
Rhode Island
we're
actually
not
is about
to.
Yeah, Rhode Island's actually, I think, and I don't know where they're at, but I know that I keep getting the House and the Senate confused. I don't know who's who, but I know that one of those motherfuckers passed it recreationally here in Rhode Island. You can have up to an ounce on you, and they're now waiting for the other piece to sign off.
It won't happen. They're gonna wait until everybody around New England does it, and then they'll do it.
I mean,
that's what they do for everything.
We're getting there. We're going close, and they made it very clear that once the FDA approves it for clinical purposes,
then
they will then have it. Yeah.
Then they're just like, all right. Okay. Well. Yeah. I'm. It's been 45 minutes now. By the way, she was rushing me. We only got a half an hour.
I know. It's like gotta go.
There's always a good time on here. I always know that, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, we were just kind of talking and just blurbing, but glad to be back. Glad to be back on track. Back on our podcast. And yeah, great day.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up.
So
yeah, putting good energy out to you guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's living their truth, living their best selves. Even if you're not living your best self, fuck it. Just, like try and change it around, restructure. We are the creators of our lives. We really are. Like if I wake up in the morning and I'm in a bad mood, which has been happening lately, I will say, just because of just my own life shit. Apparently I could be perimenopause. I have to rule all these things out now, guys. Like I'm fucking 41. So that's like a big thing. Or this postpartum relapse could be happening. I have no idea. So I get it. I get waking up and just not feeling it. But I do know that we can actually really shift that. Like I have woken up and felt like that and have literally like told myself like, okay, it's fine. Everything's good. There's nothing, like everything is okay. Like whatever it is that I tell myself, and then I shift, and I can shift, and sometimes that shift could last all day, and sometimes it'll last for just a little bit, and then I have to reshift, so it's exhausting. It really is, because you're constantly having to shift, or you're constantly having to be aware of your thought process, and I get it. But if you're not doing that, then that means that you just continue to allow yourself to stay in the state that you're in. And because I understand that state, it's not fun. So I know it's not fun for you if that's the state that you're always living in, so I hope that,
I mean, it is a conscious decision, but then there's the work that you have to put into it to make it like reality, to manifest it. And that takes several months, 90 days, they say. It's like basically practicing that type of stuff, But I mean, if it's something else, it's like a chemical reaction.
Break a habit, I think you were saying. But in terms of a mind shift, that takes like
Well, it depends on the person.
It depends on the person, and it depends on how deep, how complex, how
where it stems from, all this other shit. Yeah,
but
and you have to pinpoint. This is a lot of work, right? It's like
it's exhausting. It really is.
But I will say, if you get into meditation, it's like just calms the mind, and then you're able to slowly.
I was supposed to go to yoga. I was supposed to go to yoga at 5 o'clock.
That's why I mentioned.
No, I haven't even signed up. I haven't even signed up all day today.
Well, you want to just go tomorrow? Can we go tomorrow?
It's a specific candlelight vinyasa, which is like nice and dark, and like it calms me. I go every week now, guys, and I'm like obsessed with it at Rafa Yoga. If you haven't gone, and days go, and then damn it, oh fuck.
I mean, you still can go if you.
Well, I have a play date.
Well, priorities.
All right, everyone.
I don't know. We just ended that.
I will make this. Now I got to restructure. Now I got to restructure my life. Okay. Hope everyone has a great rest of the weekend, and we will see you soon.
Yeah. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.